Hello and welcome to this video on substitution. Now, substitution in maths surprisingly works exactly the same way as it does in the real world. So a common example of where you might see substitution used is in football. So if a particular player isn't playing very well, what might happen is they get substituted with another one who's going to have more of an impact on the game. So substitution just simply refers to where we replace something, and from a maths context, we replace a variable like an x or an a or a b with numbers so that we can actually do some calculations. So let's have a look at an example of some substitution. Here I've got a formula, 3a plus ab, and I'm told that a equals 3 and b equals 5. So now I know that a equals 3 and b equals 5. What I can do is I can take this formula and rewrite it with the substituted values. So it's got a 3 at the front, but then I know that a is actually 3. Now, I can't just write a 3 like that because it's going to look like 33 and I'm going to get confused. So remember that what's actually happening to the 3 and the a is they're being multiplied by one another. So I'm going to drop a little small multiplication symbol in there just so I can see and I don't accidentally think it's 33. And that's being added to whatever a is, which I now know is 3, and whatever b is, which I now know is 5. Now again, just like before, I'm going to add in a little time sign so that I know it's not 35. So that's my substitution complete. Now I can move on to evaluating it. 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 5 is 15, and adding the two of them together gives me 24. So the value of that when a is 3 and b is 5 is 24. Here's another more complicated example. Now in this one we've got some fractions, we've got some square numbers floating around. So all I'm going to do, exactly like before, is I'm going to write this thing out with all of my variables now replaced. So a half is still a half. A is now 8 and that gets squared, and that's multiplied by b, which is 5. And I'm going to plonk a little multiplication sign in there so I don't forget. Now, I'm going to want to sort of break this up a little bit. So a half, 8 squared I know is 64, and that's being multiplied by 5, and they're all being times together. And you can take as many steps in this as you want to try and help you out. So t equals, well, a half times 64 is 32. And I've still got to deal with the times 5, but I'm going to leave that until my next stage of my calculation. And then t equals 32 times 5, which is 160. Okay, here are 3 for you to have a go at. Hit pause and go play when you're ready to see what the answers look like. Good luck. Okay, let's have a look at these. So in this first one, I can see that this is the same formula we had before, but actually the substituted values are different. So it's going to be 3 times 4 plus a, which is 4, times by b, which is negative 2. So I'm going to have to be a little bit careful with that. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 8 times negative 2, which is negative 8, and 12 plus negative 8 equals 4. On to the next one. Slightly more to do in this one. So I know that y equals 3, and that's living on the outside of the bracket. 5 times x, well, that's 5 times negative 2, plus 2 times y, and we know that y is 3. Now I'm going to work out what lives inside the bracket, so it's 3 multiplied by, on the outside, negative 10 plus 6. Well, negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4, and 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. On to the final one. So same again, 2 times whatever a is, which is 3, times whatever b is, which is 5, plus whatever a is, which I know is 3, times b squared. So again with this one, I'm just going to evaluate it. 2 times 3 times 5 is 30. And be careful the order you do this one. Often on substitution questions, people can get caught out by BIDMAS. So remember, I need to do 5 squared, which is 25, first, and then multiply it by 3, which is 75. And my answer to this one is 105. Well done if you got all of those 3 correct. But we're going to have to try and deal with the beast. So work out the value of that thing when a is 5, b is negative 2, and c equals 3. Good luck. Okay, let's try and figure this one out then. So, a lot of stuff going on in that formula. So again, I'm just going to take my substitution steps nice and slow. So C equals 3, then I've got a bracket. Then it's A times C, which is 5 times 3. And then I'm adding that to 5 lots of B, which is negative 2, times C, which is 3. And that's all divided by B, which is negative 2 times C squared. So I can start evaluating some of this then. So on the top line, I'm going to leave the 3 where it is for now, but I know 5 times 3 is 15. Again, I'm making sure that I'm following BIDMAS all the way through, plus 5 times negative 2 times 3, which is negative 30. And that's all divided by negative 2 multiplied by 3 squared, which I know is 9. So what I'm going to have here is I'm going to have 3 multiplied by 15 plus negative 30 is negative 15, and that's going to be divided by negative 18. 3 times negative 15 is negative 45, divided by negative 18, which is positive 2.5, and that's the beast tamed for this one. Okay, so just to recap, make sure you write out your substitution steps before you try and solve this thing. If you don't do that, it's a lot of numbers to keep floating around in your head. High pressure exam environment, it's not worth it. Write out your substitution step before you try and solve this. Remember to follow BIDMAS, very, very important. Don't start doing things in a bizarre order. BIDMAS doesn't change. Check with your powers, your negatives, that you're doing them correctly. And remember, substitution is just replacing variables, so your letters, X, Y, Z, etc., with numbers so we can actually evaluate an expression. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully that was useful. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.